憾的没有获得冠军。乔维继续扩大了自己在积分榜的领先优势。今天呢，会由曼尼来领跑，就获得了 P1 的发车位。那么首先呢，让我们先回顾一下昨天的精彩集锦。
Well, thanks, Pauline and Ian. And this is what happened in yesterday's race. And it all happened here at the start. And Pierre-Louis Chauvet from second position went down on the inside of Zhou Guanyu. There he is in the blue-nosed car, getting into the front. And that's where he stayed for the entire race. So really the drama. And Zhou Guanyu tried to fight back on the first lap, but it wasn't to be. The Frenchman held him off and went all the way to the checkered flag, which was actually finished under a safety car. Now, Patrick Pasma in the fairly distinctive blue and pink car started from P7 and went all the way up to third. He had a great start. In fact, it was slightly too good to be true because he cut over the track limits and was penalised, so he finished in third spot behind these two. There he is, Patrick Pasma, just having a little issue with the brakes there. He crossed the line in third position, but then was penalised that one place, so finished in fourth. And it was, in fact, Ayuma Iwasa of Japan, Red Bull Junior driver, who has took the third and final podium position yesterday, and he also won the Rookie Cup race victory. So Pierre-Louis Chauvet is the championship leader, and he scored his 5th win in 10 races. So he is now 22 points clear at the front of the field. This was a later moment for Alexandre Bardinon, which brought out the safety car, and that is how the race finished. Slightly disappointing for drivers and fans alike, but it didn't make too much difference to the order. Pierre-Louis Chauvet taking the victory from Zhou Guanyu, and Ayuma Iwasa promoted up into third place because of that penalty to Patrick Pasma. Now, Kush Maini, who had a gearbox issue, classified at the bottom of the field. He had to come into the pits on the very first lap. Managed to get it sorted. Wasn't classified because he only completed 7 or 8 laps of the entire race, but managed to set the fastest lap around this Dubai Autodrome circuit. And that means that he starts today in pole position. So 5.39 kilometers in length, this circuit here. And the drivers by now pretty familiar. This is the 5th race of the season around this circuit. And the 2 long straights leading into turn 1 and turn 10, that is where you might expect to see overtakes. But we haven't seen a whole lot so far, certainly not this weekend. Fairly tricky in these cars and around these circuits to be passing all over, but we have a pretty interesting grid. Patrick Pasma, despite that disappointment of getting bumped out of the podium positions, starts also from the front row of the grid. So he's in position number 2, ahead, just behind Kush Maini. So we're either going to see some overtakes or we're going to see a new race winner. Now let's hear from Kush Maini, who was talking to Ian ahead of his pole position.
Kush Maini, you know the saying, every cloud has a silver lining. Into the pits on lap 1 with a gearbox issue, but you went back out, set the fastest lap of the race, and now you're about to start on pole position.
Yeah, you know, the last 2 rounds we've been having engine issues, so it hasn't been ideal, but all credit to the Mumbai Falcons team. They never stopped believing in my pace and my ability, so we got that engine changed, but unfortunately we had to start from the back of the grid. And then obviously had a few issues, but at the end of the day it all worked out well because we've got pole. Just got to put our head down now and get that first win.
So the championship obviously out of reach, but this is your best opportunity to go for a race victory here in the Asian Championship. What is your approach down into turn 1?
Well, just get a good launch, and the reaction time, obviously it's a very long run down to turn 1, so it's going to be interesting, but just got to brave it out really.
It's as close as we'll get to a reverse grid, mixed grid, but the car's obviously quick. Yes, you did finish race 2 some laps down, but when you did put in the lap, it was quicker than anybody.
Yeah, I think with the engine change, our pace is back to where it should be. And obviously the championship's out of reach now for me, so I'm just going race by race. And anyways, it's a winter championship, and I've learned so much, and I've you know, sharpened my skills before my main series. So in that view, I'm really happy to get this opportunity. Obviously, it hasn't gone the way we wanted it to, but that's life. We learn.
Best of luck, Kush. We'll be watching you down in turn 1.
Thank you.
And as we saw yesterday, it's all about that long run down into the right-handed turn 1 when we get underway. Now, Kush comes from a fairly respected driving family. His older brother Arjun is here as well. He's just less than a year older than Kush. Also here in Dubai, racing in the Asian Le Mans Series. You can see that on the banner above the track. The 4 Hours of Dubai. And so the brothers will be supporting each other. Their uncle founded what has now become the Mahindra car company, one of the biggest electric car companies in India. So fairly disappointing season so far for Kush Maini in terms of results and championship points, but he has a fantastic chance.
So getting ready then for race 2 of the weekend in round 4 of the Asian Formula 3 Championship. You are looking at the pole sitter, Kush Maini of the Mumbai Falcons India Racing Team, as he will line up from pole position courtesy of his sensational run in yesterday's race. Despite his mechanical problems at the start of the race, they got the car back out onto the circuit and he banged in a fast lap, which puts him at the front end of the grid. Good morning to you all, or good afternoon, wherever you are watching from around the world. Jake Sanson here with you as we take you through the action of race 2 of round 4 of the F3 Asian Championship 2021. The three-way title fight continues as we battle away between Pierre-Louis Chauvet, Zhou Guanyu of China and Jehan Daruvala of India in the Mumbai Falcons Racing Team. They are going to be starting 3rd in the state of Zhou, 4th for Chauvet and 5th for Daruvala, but the front row is taken up of Kush Maini of India, and then in 2nd it is Patrick Pasma, the Evans GP driver. So it's going to be an absolutely fantastic battle for each of our competitors at the front end of the starting grid. So we will see how all of the competitors get off the line. 6th position on the grid in behind Zhou, Chauvet and Daruvala is actually Roman Stanek, leading a trio of the high-tech Grand Prix drivers. Ayumu Uwasa, the Japanese driver, is 7th on the grid, and then Roy Nizani. So then we have Roberto Faria, the Brazilian, and David Vidales, the Spanish driver, will line up P10 after scoring his first points on his debut yesterday. Then we have Cembolok Bassi, the Turkish driver for Black Arts Racing, the reigning champions in Asian Formula 3, of course, that team. Reese Ushijima, lining up 12th position on the starting grid. And then in 13th and 14th, it is the British driver Alex Connor and the Spaniard Lorenzo Flusha. And then Rafael Villagomez in the Black Arts car, the Mexican, alongside Nicola Madanangeli. The 9th row of the grid will see Alessio De Leda, the Italian, line up alongside Amner Al-Kubaisi. Irina Sidakova, the Russian, will be alongside Alexandre Bardinon, the Frenchman. And then Khaled Al-Kubaisi will line up 21st on the grid. Fabulous to see the cars lined up in position. Thank goodness we're actually going to be allowed to start the race, because obviously we've been a little bit delayed this morning due to a proper pea super, as they call it in Great Britain. A proper thick fog descended over the circuit. So we were having, unfortunately, to delay this morning's activities. But now the fog is gone, it has lifted, and we can go racing once again. There's Jehan Daruvala, the Indian, who will line up in 5th position on the grid. Three race wins so far over the course of this 2021 campaign. And the battle is going to be very, very intense for him as he goes off 5th position. He was carrying damage through the race yesterday, so to get 5th position under the circumstances, very impressive indeed for the very talented racer in the Red Bull Junior program. So let's see what he can do from 5th position on the grid. If he gets a good launch, then he will have another sensational run. But it is definitely going to be tough for him with his two main rivals, Zhou Guanyu of China and Pierre-Louis Chauvet of France, there on the 2nd row of the grid, just a whisker in front of him. But for Kush Maini in the pole position and Patrick Pasma 2nd, this is an opportunity for those two to move off from the front end of the grid. So let's see how Kush Maini will go from the front of the starting grid. The Indian lining up for the Mumbai Falcons team after a brilliant lap yesterday. So this could be absolutely astonishing for him as he goes off the starting grid. So we will have to try and figure out who's going to have the best start. Of course, the teams and the drivers do have to work out which tyres they should use, because obviously there will be some drivers that will favour going for a new set of tyres today, but then some are actually going on used tyres. It all very much depends on the strategy of the weekend, because they only have, as far as I'm aware, they will have a very limited set of tyres to go through. So the competitors obviously are trying to make sure that they are in position. Now it looks as though Alexandre Bardinan, the Pinnacle Motorsport car, is not there on the starting grid in 20th. I can't quite make out where Bardinan is. I'm going to try and see if we can get a look at Bardinan's car in the pits at the Pinnacle Motorsport team, but he was the one who actually got caught up in the incident yesterday that brought out the safety car, which is how we finished race 1 yesterday. So could be a very interesting battle for the drivers, but with one car less on the starting grid. Now let's talk you through the season so far for those who are just catching up to it. We had Zhou Guanyu, the Chinese driver, take 2 victories in the first 3 races here at Dubai Autodrome 2 weeks ago. Pierre-Louis Chauvet picking up the 3rd. And then we went to Abu Dhabi for a double-round double-header over the course of 4 days last week. It was 2 wins for Jehan Daruvala in the first 2 races of the first round. Pierre-Louis Chauvet then picking up the win in the 3rd. And then 2 wins in a row for the Frenchman into the 2nd round of the championship. And Jehan Daruvala then picked up the 3rd race of that weekend. So the races have not been won by anybody other than Pierre-Louis Chauvet and Guanyu Zhou since race 2 at the Dubai Autodrome 2 weeks ago. The 2 drivers there at the front have been serial race winners, but the battle is going to be intense. Now, after the race yesterday, Pierre-Louis Chauvet has 181 points in the title race, 159 now for Zhou Guanyu, and Jehan Daruvala is 3rd on 156. Then it's Isaac Hajar and Dino Beganovic, neither of whom, of course, are racing for the remainder of the season, unfortunately, as their rookie campaigns come to a spluttering halt. They've gone back to Europe to prepare for their next motor racing programs. Ayumu Iwasa, the Japanese driver, is the next man to pick up the mantle, and he is going to be the man, probably at the end of this race now, who will take advantage of the other 2's plight. In fact, he now leads the Rookie Cup, 4 points ahead of Hajar. So Ayumu Iwasa is now the leading rookie. And it's the Turkish driver, Ciembolok Bassi, who is set to become the next man to capitalise, as he is running a very good race this season so far. He actually has the same amount of points as Patrick Pasma, the Finn, 45 for the season so far. They're both down in the standings compared to the Israeli talent Roy Nizani. So this could be a really exciting challenge for the competitors. So let's see who's going to get the best of it. Kush is obviously in a good position from pole. So his brother Arjun obviously is going to be watching along as well. I managed to catch up with him in the paddock a couple of days ago, and I haven't seen him for a long, long time. So it was good to chinwag with the old boy once again. It's been a long time since the karting days. It's brilliant to see how the Indian racing ladder has really taken on a fascinating mantle over the years. I can remember back in 2012 when the Force India Racing Academy karting team was part of the British karting championship, and there were 3 very exciting young talents in that karting team in Force India colours, namely Tarun Reddy, Arjun Mayen, and of course Jehan Daruvala. It's been amazing to see how they have climbed up the ladder over the course of the last 9 years of motorsport. And certainly for Jehan, as a Red Bull Junior, he's got a great chance of moving into Formula 1 and representing India on the world stage. And he could well, of course, become the 3rd Indian driver ever to race in Formula 1 after the talents of Narayan Karthikeyan and Karun Chandok. But it's Kush who lines up in pole position for this one. Jehan will be in P5, so the 2 Mumbai Falcons are right up at the sharp end of the field. But Patrick Pasma should be a lightning bolt off 2nd position on the starting grid. So it really will be sensational to see how the competitors are going to go from the first part of the grid. It really will be sensational. And this is a tough moment for Kush the Mumbai Falcons driver, from pole position, because of course he's had an opportunity from the front row of the grid snatched away from him in the past earlier this season due to, again, another technical failure. So hopefully this time it's all going to go according to plan for him. So as the drivers wait for the green flag, it flies atop the gantry, and we will go around for our formation lap. So, could this be redemption day for the pole sitter as Kush lines up on the front of the starting grid? Alongside him will be the Finn Patrick Pasma for Evans GP. It really is an exciting chance for these 2 who finally get their chance to race from the front row of the starting grid. As we go on the formation lap, the drivers obviously warming up their tyres and brakes to the optimum temperature so that we can see who's going to be the next race winner in this championship. Here's the grid. Kush and Patrick Pasma from the front row of the starting grid. On row 2, it is Zhou Guanyu on the second year of Chinese New Year, and Pierre-Louis Chauvet lining up in P4. Jehan Daruvala and Roman Stanek on the third row of the grid. And then in row 4, it's Ayumu Uwasa and Roy Nizani, the Japanese and the Israeli, both from the high-tech squad. Roberto Faria of Brazil and David Vidales of Spain round out the top 10. Then it's Chen Bolagbasi and Rhys Ushijima that line up in row 6. Alex Connor and Lorenzo Flusha on the 7th row of the starting grid. Rafael Villagomez and Nicola Marinangeli in the 8th row of the starting grid. Then it is Alessio De Leda and Anna Alkubaisi are on row 9. And then completing the top 20, it's Irina Sidakova and Alex Bardinon, but I can't see Bardinon's car out on the grid. And Khaled Alkubaisi in the Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema car, lining up in 21st on the starting grid. Hopefully Bardinon's car is going to be out on the grid, even if he has to start the race from the pit lane. So it really will be an absolutely sensational battle to see who's going out. And of course, fans of the Mumbai Falcons Racing team will also be wanting to keep an eye on the Asian Le Mans races coming up later, because we have another Mayan family member. It's Arjun, who's lining up alongside Narayan Karthikeyan and Naveen Rao. And that'll be interesting to see how they go in the 4 races of the 2021 Asian Le Mans Series. And that race is coming up later this afternoon here at Dubai Autodrome. But now the pressure is mounting for Kush at the front of the field, and from Patrick Pasma, Guanyu Zhou and Pierre-Louis Chauvet. So Pierre-Louis Chauvet is the championship leader, currently 22 points ahead of Zhou Guanyu, the Chinese star. So this could be a fascinating opportunity for Guanyu to move further forward in the points rankings, but Pierre-Louis Chauvet has killed his demons at the start nowadays. So it could be interesting to see what he can do from the front of the grid. And obviously with him going off P4, things could get pretty spicy for him as he charges down to the first corner. But we had an amazing wheel-to-wheel, no-holds-barred duel to turn 3 yesterday with Zhou Guanyu and Pierre-Louis Chauvet, in which they very nearly banged wheels. There were millimetres between them. You could have cut the tension between them with a cigarette paper, and it really was absolutely astonishing to see them go wheel-to-wheel. But this starting grid is going to be a tough one as the cars get themselves lined up into position. The only car missing is Alexandre Bardinon, so the Pinnacle driver is not going to take up his position on the starting grid. That is unfortunate, as the cars are now just getting themselves into their grid slots. And then when Khaled Al-Kubaisi gets into his grid position, we will get the green flag from the marshal at the back of the grid, and then we can go racing. Indeed we can. So the 5-second board goes up. When the lights go out, we'll be racing for the second time this weekend in round 4 of the 2021 Asian Formula 3 Championship. Let's race at Dubai Autodrome. And there's a non-start from Daruvala. Daruvala has not moved. Jehan Daruvala does not get away. So the Mumbai Falcons car is left stranded on the grid. Patrick Pasma's already starting to attack Kush as they come up to the first corner. And it's side by side between Zhou and Chauvet once again. Into turn 1, Chauvet's got the inside line. Mayen has got the lead into the first corner. He's fought off Patrick Pasma. So already the Mumbai Falcons car takes the lead, and Zhou is back on the inside of Chauvet. Chauvet's going to be the one who goes round the outside this time. And again, he holds off Guanyu Zhou. Astonishing for the second race in a row as Chauvet and Zhou go wheel to wheel, and the Frenchman once again wraps his car around the outside of the Chinese driver and holds on to third position. So Zhou Guanyu has got to work hard to get himself back into third place once again. There's Ayumu Uwasa, who does not seem to have made a great start. But there's big problems on the straight because Jehan Daruvala has failed to get away off the starting line, and that is absolutely atrocious for his championship hopes. That is an absolutely disastrous start for the Indian star. And now this is Zhou again having an attack at Chauvet, but he's going to be squeezed wide by the Frenchman. And there's almost room for Roy Nizani to attack further back. I think that is the 11, Roman Stanek, getting himself into the battle as well. And that's a big lunge on the inside from Zhou. Can he get there on Chauvet? He knows he's got to do it on the first lap. And coming past both of them, that looks like Is that one of the high-techs going through? Yes, it is. It's the 14. It's the fast-starting Roy Nizani. So Nizani has got past both Zhou and Chauvet. And now Zhou is trying to come back on Nizani. Nizani locks up. Zhou on the inside line. Thanks very much, buddy. But Nizani keeps it around the outside. Nearly loses the back end completely. So Guan Yu Zhou is going to try and step it up again into third position into the final turn. He's got to commit, but he's going to have to hold on to it. And Nizani drifts wide. And now Zhou Guan Yu has a chance to come back down the straight. And then there's an absolute squabble from third position downwards as Kush Mayan and Patrick Pasma are disappearing out into the distance. It's an absolute duel to the first corner, as these two continue to stretch their advantage out front, but Nizani is having an absolute squabble to keep himself in third position. Let's look back and see who is there. It is still Nizani from Zhou and Chauvet, and then we've got the likes of Stanek, Iwasa, Faria, Vidales, Ushijima and Deleda having a terrific battle. So some absolutely sensational racecraft on the end of the first lap, and Nizani just about hanging on in front of Guan Yu Zhou. But the Chinese driver is going to be working incredibly hard to come back through. So it's Kush Mayan leading the way, then Patrick Pasma in second from Nizani. And then it's Zhou, Chauvet, Stanek, Faria, Iwasa, Vidales, Ushijima, Mananangeli, Flusha. And I can tell you that Jehan Daruvala has managed to get going again. He's down at the back of the field, unfortunately. There he is. You can just about see him in the background. He did get the car moving, but at the back. And that is Stanek trying to get on the inside there of one of the Premas. I think that's Vidales he's dueling with. So an absolutely monstrous opening couple of laps. But this is critical for Zhou Guan Yu to get past Pierre-Louis Chauvet. He had to do that. Otherwise, Chauvet was going to gain more ground on him and yet more. But with Chauvet down in 5th position, this definitely doesn't help the Frenchman to extend his lead in the championship. There is Jehan Daruvala at the back of the field, just trying to gain something from this race. The tables really haven't turned in his favour so far, as Nizani runs in 3rd place there from Zhou, Chauvet, Stanek, Faria, Iwasa, Vidales, and then we've got Ushijima, Marinangeli and Alex Connor in the fray. As that's a big dive up the inside. That is Alex Connor trying to get his move there on the inside of Nicola Marinangeli. Marinangeli drifts wide. So Alex Connor's going to try and get this one done. Oh, that is Amner Al-Kubaisi, and there's a broken left front wheel. So that is going to be a safety car because the car is stranded on the racetrack. Safety car, safety car. Now that is not great news for Kush Mayani and Patrick Pasma. They had extended a battle of 3 seconds over the rest of the field. There is overtaking still happening in the first corner as drivers are coming through, but we are going to have to go to safety car indeed. Safety car, safety car. So it comes up on my timing screen, and that is that was always going to be the case with Amner Al-Kubaisi's car stranded on the race circuit and actually on the racing line. So safety car has been called, and I have a feeling the drivers will know about it now they're on the back straight. And it's turn 11 that a car has stopped. It is Amner Al-Kubaisi. Now, I think these guys are still racing. Patrick Pasma hustling behind Kush Mayan at the front of the field. So this is a very exciting battle for the drivers, but there you go. Now they've backed off the chase, and they can see why they've backed off the chase, because there is Amner Al-Kubaisi's car stopped at turn 11, and the reason it's stopped is because it can't move. So this is a very difficult situation for the race leader. Kush Maini with a very difficult challenge in front of him now, ahead of Patrick Pasma. And obviously, this is not going to be easy for him to cope with the pressure, having had so many difficulties. But there is a strong chance here. If he gets a good restart ahead of Patrick Pasma, he could take his maiden Asian Formula 3 Championship win. And with the likes of Zhou and Chauvet boxed in behind Roy Nizani at the start, this could be absolutely fascinating off the restart, because Kush Maini has the best opportunity. So now we're going to see if this is going to be a great opportunity. Can he get this victory from the front of the field? He's got to obviously keep the car very, very controlled under safety car. He's got to make sure that the tyres and brakes are to optimum temperature, and hopefully the officials will be able to get the car moved from turn 11 of Amner Al-Kubaisi. Unfortunate in those first couple of laps that we lost the car. Bardinot, I can tell you, has actually got going again. So he must have started from the pits because he wasn't on the grid originally. So he must have started from the pit lane. So there is Amna Al-Kubaisi's car. She's still in the car, actually. She hasn't got out at any point. I would have assumed that she probably would have tried to by now, but clearly with the car being on the racetrack, she clearly felt, well, the safest place for me to be at this moment is actually just to stay in the car with the protection of the halo. And Amna Al-Kubaisi now extricates herself from the car. Unfortunate, actually, because she's been making good progress in this machine over the last few weekends. The results haven't always shown us her actual talent, and that's often the case when you're making a maiden season in Formula 3, particularly at this level. But I've been talking to her a few times over the course of this season, and they're getting closer to the raw pace, and that's the difficulty. Qualifying is such a big deal in this sport. It really does make such a massive difference to the spread of the draw, and that's the difficulty, because there's only a few tenths of a second between the car that you're chasing. If you get just one lap wrong, if you don't manage to get that qualifying lap set up, the rest of your weekend is compromised, because you only get one opportunity really to get that fast lap in, and it does change so much of the rest of your weekend. So we've got the safety car now bunching up the field. We've got a course car and it looks like a medical car coming out to the circuit. Just to, I'm guessing that's just for a precautionary measure, essentially, so that obviously Amna Al-Kubaisi can be checked over. And the officials are obviously sending the cars around the long way round the machine. So obviously the protocols have to be followed to the letter. So obviously the officials will do this, and a massive congratulations to the marshals around the circuit. They are really the proper heroes of this sport. As much as we talk about the teams and the drivers and obviously the organisers of these events, without the marshals at the side of the circuit, we couldn't go racing at all. So we are absolutely indebted to them, the Orange Army. And you can see them there. And they've already started going to work. Hopefully we're not going to be behind the safety car for too long. I believe they're just going to have a precautionary check over. They obviously have to run through the protocols and procedures to the letter, even in a precautionary measure. So I wouldn't panic about that too much. I did see Amna get herself out of the car, so I don't think there'll be any major injuries to be concerned with. They just have to go through the protocols, especially in the current times. What this is going to do, though, of course, is it's going to change a lot of things for a lot of people, particularly for that man, Jehan Daruvala, has actually got a bit of a saving grace now. He's got a comeback drive that he can actually go for, because he's managed to get past 3 cars. He's got past Irina Sidakova, he's got past Alexander Bardinot, and got past Khaled Al-Kubaisi. So he's now in 17th with Amna Al-Kubaisi out of the race. So that's 3 places already made up for Jehan Daruvala. That's 3 places he doesn't have to make up on the restart. So he's up to 17th. And we know how quick his car is. We know how strong he is as a driver, so he can really carve his way through the field and make some progress. It would not be a massive surprise to see him charge his way through from the back of the grid. So this is definitely going to be an interesting situation. Doesn't look as though the cameras are going to give us much of an indication as to what happened out there on the circuit with Amna Al-Kubaisi, unfortunately. So we'll just have to continue with conjecture until the actual reports from the drivers come in. And even then, the 2 drivers involved in said incident will probably have a different view of the incident compared to his opponent. So that'll be an interesting one. I'm sure that Amna will have one particular view, which she will agree with, and then the other driver, whoever it was, will have their own. Now, let's have a look at the start. Look, Jehan Daruvala just doesn't get going at all. And then, I think, just shortly after this, Jehan Daruvala found the pace. This is the opening couple of laps. Again, Chauvet just really showing himself to Guan Yu Zhou in the early stages. But this is where Zhou really had to attack. Now watch, Nizani's getting pretty racy. So Zhou Guan Yu comes around the outside of Chauvet. We didn't really get the chance to see more than that. That's Irina Sidakova in the car. And she is the car just behind Jehan Daruvala. So who has Daruvala got to pass? And in which order? Well, the first car he's got to go for is that one. That is Alessio Deleda in the pinnacle. And then it will be Rafael Villagomez, Cemboluk Bassi, and Lorenzo Flusha, a trio of Black Arts cars. Now, what's happened to Cemboluk Bassi? Because he's down in 14th, and that is not an interest. That's a very difficult position for Cemboluk Bassi to be in. We're used to seeing him a little further up than that. So that will be a really difficult problem for them. So I would suspect that Jehan Bassi has had a poor start, or something has happened to him on the opening couple of laps, and that's why he's down in 14th position. 13th is Lorenzo Fluscia, the man who pulled off that master strategy at Yas Marina to go out after a difficult opening lap in race 1 and set a fast lap, which is incidentally exactly what this man did yesterday. Kush Maini did exactly the same thing in the Mumbai Falcons car, managed to get himself out onto the circuit again and set the fastest lap, which has put him at the front for race 2. So there you go. You can see the safety teams moving Amna Al-Kubaisi's car. She's definitely made contact with somebody because that front left wheel is dislodged out of position. It's broken, the push rod on the left front. So I don't know who she's made contact with. And certainly nobody else appears to be in trouble. But a very interesting scenario for the rest of the field, and certainly for Kush Maini in the Mumbai Falcons car and Patrick Pasma in the Evans GP car in second. We could be in for an absolutely thrilling restart here, and it's all going to be down to Kush off the restart. Cars 25 and 51 under investigation for a possible overtaking under the safety car. Now that is Irina Sidakova and Alexandra Bardinon. So down behind Jehan Daruvala, Sidakova and Bardinon are being investigated for possible overtaking under safety car. Now that is an interesting one, because obviously you're not allowed to overtake anybody behind the safety car. So if an incident like that has occurred, and we don't know who's overtaken who, then there could be a penalty handed to one or the other driver. But we'll have to see. So let's see how the competitors are going from the restart. It's going to be Kush Maini and Patrick Pasma at the front end of the field. Roy Nizani will be third after a sensational opening lap. Fourth is going to be Zhou Guanyu. Happy Chinese New Year to him and all the fans from China watching back home. Pierre-Louis Chauvet in fifth. Roberto Faria in sixth place. And then Oyumu Owasa, David Vidales, Roman Stanek and Reese Ushijima. And then it is Nicola Maranangeli in 11th from Alex Connor and Lorenzo Fluscia, Jehan Bassi and Rafael Villagomez, Alessio De Leda. After barely getting away at all, Jehan Daruvala is now 17th, ahead of Irina Sidakova and Alexandra Bardinon, both drivers of whom are being investigated for overtaking under the safety car. And then Khaled Al-Kubaisi runs in 20th place in his first weekend of this championship. And of course, it's the first time that we have seen a father and daughter racing in the same grid in Formula 3 history. I'm fairly sure that's worldwide. That's the first time it's ever happened, with Khaled Al-Kubaisi and Amna Al-Kubaisi in the same team and in the same grid. Amna rather sadly out of this race after what appears to have been contact with another driver in the second lap of this race. Now, I say appears because obviously we haven't got footage of it, so we can't confirm it. But certainly it looked as though there was some damage to the left front of Amna Al-Kubaisi's Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema car. Now, it's going to be fascinating to see how things develop. Vatsal Singh is writing in, how many super license points do you get in Formula 2? Well, I can certainly tell you the answer, how many super license points you'd get for winning in Asian Formula 3, and the answer is 18. So in Formula 3 Asian racing, the champion gets 18 super license points. Hence why we've got some of these Formula 2 drivers coming through, such as Roy Nizani, Zhou Guanyu and Jehan Daruvala, because it's an opportunity to gain some more super license points ahead of the Formula 2 season. And obviously, with it being the Formula 3 car, it's obviously fairly close in spec to the FIA Formula 3 Championship car. There are some differences, obviously. There's no DRS with this particular version of the car. So a lot of it comes down to the skill and daring of the drivers. Now, the safety car is coming in this lap. Look at Patrick Pasma. He's getting quite close to the back of Kush Maini's car, who is timing his restart to his own sweet time, thank you very much. And when he drops the hammer, we're going to go racing. I think he just has, actually. So Kush Maini seems to have timed the start absolutely perfectly. Out of the final turn and down the straight. Away we go. Green flag. So that looks like a good getaway, but Maini's already trying to break the toe. Patrick Pasma wants this opportunity. He knows that this could be absolutely the best chance to come through. He has a little feint to the inside line. Maini's not going to fall for that one. Nizani is already launching towards Patrick Pasma. So this could be an absolutely sensational run. Through the right. Pasma holding second position. Third place for Roy Nizani. Guan Yu Zhou is in fourth place ahead of Chauvet, and then it's Faria, Iwasa, Vidales, Stanek, Ushijima, Mananangeli, and Alex Connor. So let's have a look back through the field and see how everything is shaping up. A couple of drivers having a look or two. That is Zhou. Oh no, sorry, that is not Zhou. That is Vidales, and he's got past Ayuma Iwasa. So a good move there from the Spaniard, and that's side by side. That is Mananangeli getting alongside Reese Ushijima, I do believe. So Kush Maini is just keeping his options open down to the hairpin. Patrick Pasma's going to launch to the inside. We're watching the wrong car, really. We should be focusing on the leaders, although we are keeping an eye on Faria as he battles away with David Vidales. Roberto Faria in the motorscape, just trying to keep the car in front of David Vidales for the moment, but Maini has held the lead. Don't panic, Mumbai Falcons fans, because he is still in the lead for the moment in front of Pasma and Roy Nizani. This is going to be a very bold lunge around the outside of the Evans GP car. That is Reese Ushijima trying to hang on in front of Alex Connor, and I think that's Lorenzo Flusha. So we've got Stanek up to 7th ahead of Ushijima, then Connor, Flusha, Bolokbasi, Villa Gomez, the leader, Daruvala, and then it is Bardino, Sidakova, and Khaled Al-Kubaisi. So it looks as though we've had Roberto Faria dropping down the order after some contact. So here comes the leading trio. Maini, Pasma, Nizani. Zhou, Chauvet, Faria, Iwasa, Vidales, Stanek, Ushijima. That's the top 10 at the moment. At least it was the last time around. Now there is an incident involving car 12 and car 7 under investigation, and they're both coming into the pit. Pasma trying to come around the outside. Great defense from Maini, but he's going to drift wide. Pasma's going to get back to the inside line. They bang wheels, and Maini's still keeping himself very much in the hunt around the outside, but Pasma gets through. Patrick Pasma takes the lead here at Dubai Autodrome. So now Kush Maini's got to make sure he stays in front of Nizani, gets back on the horse in good stead. Here comes Nizani to the inside line, and Maini's kept the door open, and Nizani and Maini come in together, and Maini shakes his fist at Nizani, and as Nizani tries to recover, Maini accidentally clips the car again. So Nizani and Maini have come together. Oh my goodness, a great chance for Kush Maini thrown away as Nizani dived up the inside. And Maini is furious, absolutely furious with Roy Nizani. Nizani is furious too. Well, both drivers are blaming the other. And that is almost certainly going to be a safety car again, with Pasma in the lead now from Zhou and Chauvet. Well, it was a great chance for both men, and unfortunately, both drivers ending up out of the race, and neither is prepared to accept the excuses of the other. So it is time now for the safety car to re-emerge on the circuit. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. There is the 11 of Roman Stanek, one of the beneficiaries of that manoeuvre. Safety car. Well, dear, oh dear. Oh look, and that's a very irate Kush Maini chatting to Roy Nizani. What were you playing at, sunshine? That's a very fed-up pair of racing drivers. Neither is going to be prepared to accept blame for that one. So that is game over for both men. It brings out the safety car because, of course, it's happened at turn 6, and it's happened just off the racing line. There is the 99. That is Khaled El-Kubaisi. And he will queue up with the rest of the field at the front end of the field. So the pressure now comes for Patrick Pasma. Patrick Pasma's now got a good opportunity to win this race, but he's going to have a very fast... Let's watch again. So Nizani, he just goes very deep into the braking zone and drifts into Maini's car, essentially. So it looked pretty much as though Nizani, he saw the inside line. He's a racing driver, so there's a gap there, definitely. He decided to go for it, but the dusty nature of this Dubai Autodrome circuit meant that once he started on the brakes, he just ended up locking up, and the car drifted into the side of Kush Maini's car. So both drivers are clearly going to feel that that incident was caused by the other. Kush Maini's going to feel that essentially Roy Nizani has dived for a move in an incredibly ambitious manner. Roy Nizani is going to be of the opinion that essentially Kush Maini turned into him. So both drivers will have different opinions on that one. But it's a very, very difficult situation as we see Nizani's car stranded at the side of the road, and I'm afraid that is the title gone for Roy Nizani as far as he's concerned. He was already not really scoring enough points to mount a title attack, and he's had an unfortunate campaign where he's shown flashes of brilliance, but then he's also had some moments where it's not gone his way. And so a very difficult race there comes to an end for Roy Nizani and Kush Maini, and certainly for Kush in particular, that's a missed opportunity for a podium finish, and it's unlikely, although not impossible, that he'll get another chance this season. Really unfortunate for him. Now, Patrick Pasma has the chance to become the first driver for the Evans GP team this season to get a Grand Prix win, because obviously there have been 3 different winning teams this year. The Abu Dhabi Racing by Prema team, courtesy of Zhou Guanyu, the Mumbai Falcons team, courtesy of Jehan Daruvala, and the Pinnacle Motorsport team, courtesy of Pierre-Louis Chauvet, 5 times thus far. So Patrick Pasma has the chance to become the 4th different race winner in 2021. And that's definitely going to help his charge. Patrick Pasma, a name that many of you in single-seater motorsport who are fans of racing may well be familiar with. Of course, he was one of the drivers involved in the incident that rather coloured the career of Billy Munger, the British racing driver who has become a very popular figure around Europe. But Patrick Pasma was the other driver involved in that incident at Donington Park a few years ago, and he's been able to continue his journey in single-seaters in much the same manner as Billy Munger has, with plenty of success. But Patrick Pasma has never been in a situation quite as intense as this one. The pressure cooker really is bubbling over for him at the moment, as he gets himself ready and prepared for a very tough mission. Zhou Guanyu and Pierre-Louis Chauvet are right in behind. 4th place now is David Vidales as a result of all of that fisticuffs between Maini and Nizani. Vidales is there in 4th place, Roman Stanek in 5th, Reese Ushijima in 6th, and then it's Alex Connor, Lorenzo Flusha, Chembolok Bassi, and Rafael Villa-Gomez. For those who are wanting to know the progress of Jehan Daruvala, well, he is now up to 12th, just 2 places outside the points. So that's not bad going. So let's see how things are going to be. The battle is definitely going to be a really interesting one when we do go racing again. Fascinating to see the YouTube chat. A lot of people laying the blame fairly squarely at Roy Nizani. Of course, that's not for us to judge. It's up to the officials to have a look into that one. So it is going to be quite an interesting debate between the drivers. And I wonder what each driver is going to have to say about the incident. I wonder what their opinions are going to be when they're in the room. So this is all now going to come down to the resolve and the patience and composure of the drivers out there on the circuit. There is Nicola Maranangeli, who is behind Khaled Al-Kubaisi now. Not quite sure what's befallen him. We had an incident as well between Roberto Faria and Yumu Uwasa. Both of their cars are in the pit lane. So I didn't actually see what happened. It was getting pretty frenetic behind the leaders. But certainly there is an interesting one there, because we've lost Maini and Nizani, as you can clearly see their cars are being cleared away. And this could be a long job, because obviously we've got 2 cars there stranded in position. I hope we're going to get another racing lap in, but let's not forget that the race circuit distance is about 5 kilometers in length. Takes about 3.5 minutes to get round here under safety car conditions. So we might end up not getting another racing lap in, and that would be a bit of a travesty again for the 2nd race in a row for it to race under to end under safety car. So it is a difficult situation, obviously, for the F3 Asian Championship drivers that remain, but we have lost Roberto Faria and Ayuma Uwasa in a separate incident a lap before the contact between Maini and Nizani. They both came into the pits, and we're told on the live timing screen that that is going to be investigated as well. So we've got 2 incidents that essentially need to be looked into. Racers behind the helmet making a valid point. Irina Sidakova doing a very decent job with her injured hand. She had a nasty incident during the Abu Dhabi race meeting where she got caught up in an incident with a couple of other cars. It was Alessio De Leda locking up with Casper Stevenson, and Sidakova had nowhere to go but into the flotsam and jetsam of the incident, and the steering wheel snapped out of her hand and it actually twisted her hand round, so it was a very nasty incident. Her hand swelled up like a balloon, and she had to miss the remaining races at Yas Marina, but she's been working hard this week. She's continued her training, and she is back out this weekend, and I'm absolutely very much in agreement with you. She is doing a very good job under the circumstances, and she's keeping that car as competitive as it can be. 14th position in this race. It's not easy to do anything with a swelled hand, and she has kept herself very calm and composed. And if you look, with the safety car is not peeling in, we've got 3 minutes to go. I hate to say this, folks, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, and I certainly don't want to have to say what I'm about to say, but it's looking almost certain that we are going to finish another race this weekend in the Asian Formula 3 Championship under safety car conditions. That is very disappointing, and certainly from a purist's and an enthusiast's point of view, you never want to see a race finish under safety car. But of course, the safety of the marshals, the safety of the drivers have to be paramount. They have to be protected, and obviously with 2 cars there at the side of the circuit, it could be a very nasty incident that would be triggered if we were to get going again now, so it's not worth the risk. So it looks like Patrick Pasma, just by keeping in the fight and putting Kush Maini under immense pressure and then making the overtaking move, he's going to claim his first win in the Asian Formula 3 Championship. An absolutely brilliant opportunity for the Finn, with Zhou Guanyu in second and Pierre-Louis Chauvet third. Well done to David Vidales, actually. He's kept himself out of trouble, and on his second race, it's going to be a 4th place finish for David Vidales. So let me try and do a quick mathematical equation. Not a great idea for a commentator in the middle of a race, but ho-hum, let's give it a try. It's going to be 15 points bagged for Pierre-Louis Chauvet, so that's going to put him on 196. Zhou Guanyu is going to get 18. That's going to put him on 177. So that is going to increase the gap from 22 points as it was. It's actually going to drop the lead from 22 points to 19 points. So Zhou is actually going to close in on Chauvet just a little bit in the driver's title fight. For Jehan Daruvala, though, unfortunately, his botched start, for whatever reason it might have been, I don't know whether it was him or whether it was the car or whatever it might have been, he did manage to get going again after the start, but something could well have gone in the electric sensor to cause problems with the clutch off the line. Whatever it is, and I'm sure we'll find out the reason after the race, but that has dropped him to 12th position in this race, which means he will not score a point. And in this stage of the title fight, his tally of 156 compared to Pierre-Louis Chauvet's projected tally, which is going to be 196. That's a 40-point advantage over the Indian. So it's looking not impossible, because there is still time and there are still 4 races after this one. But it's definitely going to be very difficult indeed for Jehan Daruvala to get back into contention. But we have seen this before, and as Farhan Amaria has pointed out on the stream, his starts are exceptional. They are very good indeed. His starts are one of his best qualities as a racing driver, and I've been watching Jehan Daruvala racing in various categories since back in 2012 when he was a racer in the British Karting Championship for the Force India Racing Academy alongside the likes of Arjun Maini and Tarun Reddy, who is now, of course, an esports racing director. He's done a fantastic job in his motorsport career, has Tarun Reddy, largely under the radar, but another Indian sensation. You'll get to see Arjun out on circuit later if you watch Asian Le Mans, because he is teammates with Naveen Rao and Narayan Karthikeyan, the legendary Indian, of course, who represented his country in the A1 GP years ago, which we all love and miss very, very fondly. So this will be an absolutely exceptional moment for the Evans GP team. We're watching the car go round, but it's the wrong car. As the safety car peels into the pits, this is a moment that the Evans GP mechanics will be savouring very much indeed. They have waited for this moment all season, and the crew have been working very hard indeed since the beginning of the year. This is a great moment for the Evans GP team, and a wonderful victory for Patrick Pasma, who comes out of the final turn, and Patrick Pasma celebrates with his crew. Evans GP take their first win in Asian Formula 3. Magnificent race win for Patrick Pasma. It may not be the circumstances he wanted, but it changes nothing in terms of the magnitude of the result. Patrick Pasma is a race winner in Formula 3 Asia. Well done, buddy. Excellent race win. So Patrick Pasma takes the victory in fine style, and he genuinely deserves it. He is a very hard-working young man. Great to see him put in such an exceptional job in the early stages of this race. He was very good behind the wheel yesterday, and now he is going to really showcase his skills again. That confidence of getting another victory in motorsport at this higher level under his belt will do him no power of good at all, no end of the power of good at all, I should say. So a fabulous job from the Evans GP team, and for Patrick Pasma, he finally gets that groundbreaking victory. It's Zhou Guanyu in second, so he drops the gap from 22 points to 19 points in the Drivers' Championship. That keeps Zhou Guanyu very much in the game still. But Pierre-Louis Chauvet has extended to 40 points clear of Jehan Daruvala. He really didn't need that moment. So this is a very difficult situation for a lot of the drivers, of course, but for this man, it's a very exciting one. A victory for Patrick Pasma, and rightly so. He deserves it. He has worked very hard indeed over the years to get to this level. A very exciting young talent, Patrick Pasma, one of the many Scandinavians who have come up through the echelons of karting in circuits such as the likes of Alajarma and Kristianstad in Finland and Sweden, to work his way into the world of single-seaters, and now here he is in Asian Formula 3, tasting the spoils of victory, and rightly so. He genuinely deserves this, and it's good to see him put in such an exceptional effort. Good drives from Zhou and Chauvet. They didn't let the early faltering get them down. They plugged away, they got on with it, and obviously once Maini and Nizani were removed from the rankings, they managed to get themselves back into the podium positions. Vidal is doing well in fourth, beating the likes of Stanek, Ushijima, Connor, Flusha, Bologbasi and Villa Gomez in the points. I think Bologbasi a little bit lucky there to be back in the points after a difficult start, but he's still, again, you make your own luck, as they say in motor racing. So he's put himself into a good position there to get more points. But it's great to see a new winner in the championship, the fourth different race winner of the 2021 Asian Formula 3 Championship. And it's very right indeed that it's Patrick Pasma. He's a wonderful young man. Got to speak to him properly at Abu Dhabi last weekend. He's a very chirpy, very, very positive young racer. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's got a great mentality, and the Evans GP team really have enjoyed working with him. And now they can celebrate down in pit road as Patrick Pasma will get himself out of the car. The mechanics are already very, very happy indeed. The elation is going to bubble over, I'm sure. Zhou Guanyu's got a lot to be happy about. Beating Chauvet on the road takes crucial points away from him in the title. With 4 races to go, he's very much still in the hunt. But what a moment for Patrick Pasma. He will, I'm sure, rise to the top of the car. Yes! Victory! It's a great moment for a race driver, especially in such a big environment as Asian Formula 3. Genuinely deserves that. Well done to Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Just keep banging in those results, my friend. And the title is still very much on the cards. He doesn't need to panic at this point. He just needs to keep putting in the good results and the good performances that he continues to deliver. But it's time for Patrick Pasma to accept the winner's circle and enjoy the spoils of victory. He really does deserve it. So here are the provisional results. Patrick Pasma in front of Zhou Guanyu. Pierre-Louis Chauvet in third place from David Vidales and Roman Stanek. Rhys Ushijima in the top 6. Another great drive from him. Alex Connor 7th in his first weekend. Flusha, Bologbasi and Villa Gomez round out the point scorers. Alessio De Leda in front of Jehan Daruvala in 12th place. 13th is Alexandra Bardinon in front of Irina Sidokova. And then Khaled Al-Kubaisi ahead of Nicola Marinangeli. Just 16 drivers finishing the race then, unfortunately. Of the 21 that started, we lost Kush Maini and Roy Nizani after their incident out on track. And Roberto Faria and Oyumu Owasa had an incident of their own. And of course, Amner Al-Kubaisi ended up having a problem on circuit, which brought out the first safety car. So, fascinating stuff in this second race of the weekend. Race 11 of the Formula 3 Asian Championship, with round 4 still very much underway. But what a result for Patrick Pasma, a race winner in the Asian Formula 3 Championship, and deservedly so.
Got away cleanly. Patrick Pasma in the blue and pink car came up right behind him, but wasn't able to go through. Behind them, a good battle between Pierre-Louis Chauvet getting past Zhou Guanyu into third position at this stage, but Zhou Guanyu was able to pull that position back. And then Roy Nissany in the silver car was right in amongst it, and here was the moment. Almost contact there. Roy Nissany in contact. No strangers, those two. And that was the moment where Nissany went up into third place. He passed both Chauvet and Zhou Guanyu. Zhou Guanyu trying to come back there. And another squiggle from the Israeli, but he held on that time. That wasn't to be the last of the action. And Zhou Guanyu again trying to come through. Now that was the first safety car. Amna Alkabasi had contact from the Russian driver Irina Sidorkova. Sidorkova able to continue. Just about the midpoint of the race, that was when the first safety car came out. But we were soon back to racing. The green flag you can see, and Patrick Pasma in second position. Watch him, because he's going to pull a move under pressure from Nissany behind him, but was able to get past Kush Maini to go into the lead. As some battles in midfield there, it was all action. So Patrick Pasma, this is where he took a move. He had a look around one way, then he went to the other side, and side by side they were racing, but Patrick Pasma was able to make that one stick. But it wasn't over there, because right here, as Kush Maini was trying to turn into the corner while Roy Nissany was inside him, and it looked like the Israeli just didn't turn. And then the two came together, Nissany spun, and some violent gesturing there of some description. But this was how it finished, with Patrick Pasma, the Finn, getting his first win of the season from Zhou Guanyu in second and Pierre-Louis Chauvet in third. And if you just stay with us, we will be able to hear from the drivers to get some of their thoughts. And the highlight of this race weekend is the 4 Hours of Dubai in the Asian Le Mans Series. Plenty of other race series here, in addition to the F3 Asian Championship. Disappointment for Kush Maini, but his brother Arjun racing in the Asian Le Mans Series. Now, we can hear from the second place driver, China's Zhou Guanyu, to hear his thoughts on today's race.
Guanyu Zhou, difficult race with the safety car, but now we're coming down to a real fight for the championship.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my main focus was, you know, make sure Chauvet was staying behind. Obviously, he passed me lap 1, and I managed to send a dive through turn 12, I think. Yeah, I made the move stick, even though I lose the position, but the main key is to keeping behind. And after I saw, you know, the top 3 after safety car race, I was getting a little bit bunched up, and yeah, managed, you know, to stay away. And I saw that crash coming before they entered the corner. So yeah, really happy to pick up P2 here. It's good for the points at the end.
Thank you, Guanyu.
Thank you.
And you can see the Chinese driver absolutely intensely aware of the championship standings. He knew that wherever he finished, he had to finish ahead of Pierre-Louis Chauvet. Now we'll get back to the standings in a moment, but let's hear from Patrick Pasma, our race victor, who is down in Parc Fermé with Ian. Let's hear what Patrick has to say.
Patrick Pasma, huge congratulations. You become the 4th different winner of the Formula 3 Asian Championship. Undoubtedly the best move we've seen for the race lead in the series. That won you the race.
Yes, well, yeah, I'm really happy to score a victory, and also it's the first one for the team, so I'm really happy that we could score this victory for the team. And yeah, we had some tough battle with Maini, and shame he had some contact with the other driver, but yeah, I'm really happy.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Patrick Pasma from Finland, 20 years old, and now a race winner in the F3 Asian Championship. As Ian mentioned, just the 4th new winner we've had in 11 races here. Pierre-Louis Chauvet has won 5 of those races and still leads this championship by 19 points. And let's hear what Pierre-Louis has to say. He's back down there with Ian.
On the podium once again, it is PLC in car 3. Pierre-Louis Chauvet, not the victory, but valuable points for the championship as we go down to the wire.
Yeah, thank you. For sure, for the moment, I only did 5 wins and no other podiums, let's say no P3 or P2. So that's my first P3, and I'm not losing too much points to Zhu, so only 3 points. So it's quite okay. It was a decent race, nice start, and then tough battle with Zhu, but nice. Yeah, really happy about that.
Thank you, Pierre-Louis Chauvet.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Pierre-Louis Chauvet, the 3rd place finisher today, but he remains the championship leader by 19 points from China's Zhou Guanyu. 3rd position is Jehan Daruvala, who finished out of the points today.
It's me, and no, it's not cricket, but it's the same energy. It's not between the runs, but the laps. It's not between 2 teams, but many to come. It's not just between the players, but also their machines. Sweat, not in the jerseys, but in their gears. It's about the race this time. Show up to cheer for Amchi Mumbai.
Mumbai Falcons at the Asian F3 Championship UAE.